Gents, let's move ahead and look to week 6 in the new season. We have previews, team news, stream links, the schedule, everything you need up at Pro Soccer Talk ahead of another big week in the Premier League. I'm going to start with focusing on, I think it's the biggest game of the week and maybe one of the biggest games of the season, Manchester United against Chelsea. For me, there is a lot of interesting things here. We have to look at, obviously, United's poor defensive form and also Chelsea's poor defensive form. And I'm going to open the floor here because I don't think that we thought that they would both defend this badly. Chelsea obviously added a few key parts there, but they've both been shocking defensively early in the season. So, Nick Mendola, Man United, Chelsea, what are you looking forward to on this one?
I'm going to go as far as to call this the closest you can get to a must-win label in week 6. Chelsea, if they drop points, will have dropped points in 4 of 6 matches to start the season. If Manchester United does, it'll be 3 of 5. This is nuts. United's numbers are not good in almost any area this year that doesn't involve Bruno Fernandes. So I look at United being away to PSG on Tuesday. I look at Chelsea facing Sevilla. How do you blend which team has more depth? I think that's Chelsea. But then after the weekend, because of this schedule, we mentioned it before with the Champions League, Leipzig for Manchester United and a trip to Krasnodar for Chelsea. So even if it is a bit easier, we saw with Spurs going to Macedonia and Bulgaria, these games are tough. So I think you're looking at one manager potentially being under extreme fire within 8-9 days of today.
Yeah, I'm just watching. Oh, sorry, Joe. I'm just watching to see if they're still playing for him. At what point do they stop playing for him? Because there was there were shades of it on the weekend against Newcastle, and I know they pulled it out late and they scored the 3 goals in the final 10 minutes. But the body language wasn't great, and from a lot of players and from key important players that he really needs to have standout performances for them. So the players are going to save his job or send him packing. So I think it's only a matter of time at this point, and I really favor Chelsea in this one.
You favor Chelsea. I was going to say, I just think that Chelsea have enough going forward to just almost abandon defensive responsibilities at this point and just say, you know what, we're going to be the most intense, attacking, exciting team, and neutrals are going to want to switch on each week to watch us play. We're going to win games 5-3, 6-4, whatever. I think that's probably their best course of action. Seeing how they defended against Southampton, who played well, but they should have been out of sight, Chelsea. They shouldn't have let them back into that game. And how many times have we said that under Frank Lampard? So as much as Solskjaer's under pressure, with the money he spent, I think there is that, you feel the pressure ramping up on Lampard and Chelsea early in the season. And if they don't have a good result in the Champions League against Sevilla, then all of a sudden, Azpilicueta has already come out and said, we haven't been playing to our level. We haven't been playing well enough. And then as soon as players start to say that, especially someone's experienced and club captain like Azpilicueta, you know that they're not happy with how things are going. As Nick kicked this off with saying, this is one of the biggest sort of early indications of how this season is going to go for both Chelsea and Man United. Obviously a huge game. Can't wait for it on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you watch that one. Okay, Andy Edwards, focusing on Arsenal against Leicester City. What are you looking forward to in that game, mate?
My big question with Arsenal, and I think it's probably something that we'll see over the course of the entire season, especially since they have a first-time manager in Mikel Arteta. Are Arsenal fans happy with the way this team is playing? And I don't mean the results or the performances, but I mean how they are set up to play. It's not the Arsenal way, if you will. It's not the very best fluid stuff of the very best Arsene Wenger years. I'm gonna say it's negative. It's just it's boxy. It's just not attractive to watch. There's nothing about it that you look and say, this team, I can really see how they progress. I can really see how they control games. I can really see how they dominate teams. I don't see any of that. I just kind of see a team that takes the field and they play like they're, a 10th or 12th place team. That's kind of the tactical setup that Arteta has gone with. And I understand you kind of have to, establish yourself as a new manager at a club and everything. And you at Arsenal, especially, you almost have to kind of rebuild the culture and everything there. And I do think they've needed a little bit more kind of a defensive mind with that team the last handful of years. But have they gone a little bit too far? They offered next to nothing against City on the weekend, and I know City very, very good, but Arsenal didn't look like they belonged in the same kind of conversation with a team like City in that game. And that's just, even at their very worst the last few years, especially against the big teams, they always showed up. They always put in a tough performance, and they were tough to beat on those days. And then they would go lose, to a bottom half team the next weekend. But they didn't have that against City. And so I'm just a little bit curious, at what point does Mikel Arteta kind of take the shackles off of some players and say, okay, you've got a little bit more freedom to work with, a little bit more creativity maybe, and we could just be a little bit more well-rounded of a team. It's interesting from the perspective that they've gone the other way and everything. So I'm just going to be watching that. I think obviously this weekend against Leicester, but for the most part, the season as a whole.
I want to focus on Liverpool against Sheffield United purely because, as we talked about, Virgil van Dijk being out, who starts at centre back? Does Fabinho play there? What's the situation? What's the mindset going to be? Because Jurgen Klopp almost seemed a little bit shell-shocked, shall we say, like after losing Van Dijk. That's the last possible thing he ever would have wanted. I mean, you talk about Messi at Barcelona, or Ronaldo at Juventus, or someone like De Bruyne at Man City. I would argue that losing Van Dijk has a bigger impact on Liverpool than any of those players being out for their respective teams. I mean, he is absolutely essential to the way they defend, not just as a unit, but the entire team as well. So seeing how they recover from that mentally, not just on the pitch, is really interesting for me. And Sheffield United, they got a lot to prove. Obviously, struggled early in the season, especially for goals. But I'm just wondering if Ryan Brewster, after being one of the brightest attacking talents Liverpool had for a long time, can't force his way in front of that wonderful forward three that they have. So he's gone to Sheffield United. It's almost written in the stars, right? He's going to return to Anfield and bang in a last-minute winner. And
read my mind.
Yeah, right. I mean, have a flutter on that. I don't know. Head over to the Pick'em and pick Sheffield United to beat Liverpool, because I can see an upset there purely because this season has been bonkers, and it would certainly fit the narrative of everything that's happened so far. So another couple of games I want to focus on is unbeaten Everton away at Southampton, who've been pretty good in recent weeks. They've kind of recovered quite well. So I'm interested to see how Danny Ings and Shea Adams get on against that Everton defence. Jordan Pickford, again, how he recovers from all of the criticism he's been facing in recent weeks. I'll be at St Mary's for that one. So I'm looking forward to having a good close look at Everton in person and seeing how Ancelotti operates, and defensively especially. I think going forward, we all know, and in midfield, that they're pretty settled. And then Burnley against Tottenham. Andy, I can see the sign behind you on your shelf there. Obviously, the response, again, from Tottenham after being 3-0 up and throwing it away against West Ham. Burnley away is not the place you really want to have to go to make a statement the next game. Of course, this isn't Burnley that we've seen in previous seasons, but I saw enough against West Brom with Wood and Barnes up front. McNeil, just slowly getting back to what we know they are, Burnley. Solid, tough to beat. And it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test for Tottenham, especially after Europa League and travelling and just rotating that squad around and seeing if Gareth Bale's going to start, because the last time he came on the pitch with Tottenham 3-0 up, didn't work out well for him, did it? So anything else, guys, before we finish? Anything else that you are looking forward to? Villa Leeds is a sneaky good game, I guess, as well.
Joe, there's no duds this week. I mean, really, I think we can all admit, as much as we love the Premier League, there are games that you kind of hope, Burnley, West Brom this week. I hope I don't have to cover that one. Like you have to admit that sometimes. But Villa Leeds starts us off on Friday. Even Man City, West Ham, with the performances that the Irons have put in this year. Fulham Palace is a London derby. I love this week for us. I love this week for people watching the Premier League. So that's just how I feel. Very excited.
Wolves Newcastle as well.
Yeah.
On
Steve Bruce, baby.
That's a really good. I think I'll say this very quickly. I think both of your teams, Newcastle and Southampton, are wildly underrated. I think they're much better than people are giving them credit for, and I even think they're better than the results they've gotten at this point. And I know the results, kind of the results say who you are at the end of the season, at the end of the day. But I think those are two very, very good teams. And come the end of the season with a little bit of progression and some stability, I guess, that actually exists at those two clubs right now, kind of in a weird time around the world and around the league. I could really see them pushing on and both finishing top half. So, Newcastle away to Wolves, I kind of like them to get something out of it. I watched Wolves on Monday. I saw nothing that says that Newcastle can't go there and get a point, if not 3.
There you go. A harmonious end to Pro Soccer Talk. Andy, can't do it much better than that, mate.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long and always join us every weekend at 7 a.m. on NBCSN for Premier League mornings. Plus, make sure you subscribe to Peacock Premium as well, where you can watch exclusively live 175 games and same-day on-demand replays of all 380 Premier League matches as well.